Well, dear Dr. Mahajer, you know that during 10-year crusade plan of the Beloved Guardian, a 9-year plan of the Beloved House of Justice, all Baha'is all over the world, they are talking about mass conversion. Would you please explain a little about this? Because myself, I'm very anxious to understand what is the reality of this mass conversion.
Actually, this is, as you say, everything is started by beloved guardian in the world. Abdu'l-Bahá has had promised very much that the troops will come to the faith. And beloved guardian so beautifully put this idea in action by sending the pioneers throughout the world. So through his 10-year crusade, he made available the people of the world and the tribes to come to the faith through this pioneering, sending all over the world and scattering throughout the world. So the people and the tribes were just next door to us. And that started in 1956. For the first time, beloved guardian announced that the preliminary signs of coming of the troops to the faith is happening in far-off regions of the world. In that time, we have had in Gilbert Islands and Mentawai, and perhaps in West Africa, some villages coming to the faith. Abdu'l-Bahá has promised that the great masses of the world, like Indian, Chinese, African, will come to the faith. Also, he has said that the Africans will roar like like a lion, roaring like the lions. And also, so all these things has happened, and especially beloved guardian emphasized very much teaching Red Indians in Latin America. And all this happened in his own time of beloved guardian. I mean, in Africa, in Pacific, and in South America, the masses, the troops start coming to the faith. But one thing very interesting is this, that beloved guardian has said that from any nation that the troops are coming to the faith, ultimately from the same people, same nation, masses will come to the faith. And he has explained that coming of the troops is a day long awaited, and coming of the masses is an hour long awaited. And he has explained that coming of the masses, when it's happened, then the faith will grow 1,000 times spiritually and materially, and numbers, 1,000-fold numerically will come to the faith. That hour perhaps is not yet come, but the troops are coming, and these troops, coming of the troops, is the beginning of that masses. So this is what we should look to the future. Now is the time that you tell us about your privilege being here in the presence of beloved guardian.
Well, I had this privilege to be with the Guardian twice, as you know. Once, my first visit to Haifa and to meet the Beloved Guardian, it was in 1940, during the Second World War. At that time, the new building of the shrine was not yet been even in the plan, and the archives, international archive, was not existing. But in my second coming to Haifa and meeting the Beloved Guardian, it was 1954. We had both the shrine of the Beloved Bab completed and the new archives also was completed. So many friends, they are asking me to describe the Beloved Guardian, to portray him for them who did not visit him. And really, my answer always was that it is almost impossible, at least for me, because the Beloved Guardian, in one side, he was so human, I should say. Maybe this is not the right word to say. So human, so friendly, but the other side, he was so majestic as the guardian of the faith, that to combine these two together and explain to the friends, it is a really very difficult job. Then when I met the Beloved Guardian, I went back to the Will and Testament of Abdu'l-Bahá, and I saw the best way to describe the Guardian, it refers to the Will and Testament, and quote that passage of the beginning of the Will and Testament of Abdu'l-Bahá about the Beloved Guardian. The most important part for me is when he says, the Guardian is the sign of God and earth. I thought, now I can meet the guardian of the faith, whom I knew for a long time, and you know, as National Secretary of Persia, I was working under his supervision all the time. And in my imagination, he was so majestic, so serious, so dynamic and everything. And I said, I am a little creature of God. How I could go to the beloved guardian? But my dear, the moment I entered that corridor, as we say, a very narrow corridor in the master's house, I saw the beloved guardian standing outside at the door, and in very beautiful smiling, that he had really beautiful eyes, beautiful smiles, greeting us. In Persian, بفرمایید بفرمایید منتظر شما بودم منتظر شما بودم. And I saw he is my brother, really. He is my host, he is my brother. And he repeatedly said, most welcome, most welcome. Marhaba, ahlan wa sahlan, bismillah, بفرمایید. And he invited us go in and sit down. Then really, in the same minute, everything was so beautiful for me. I was feeling so comfortable in that room with the guardian that I cannot imagine. In 1 second, everything, it was passed from me. My fear, my troubles, everything. And I felt myself that I am now in paradise. Then the beloved guardian turned to me asking, how are friends in Persia? And we had in those days some troubles, and I explained to the guardian. And the guardian knew all about, of course. Then he said, it will pass, it doesn't matter. The Baha'is must be firm, and these persecutions will pass, and they will see a very bright future. And then he insisted that when I will be back to Persia in the capacity of National Secretary, explain all about to the friends about the importance of 19-day feast. Because he asked me, are all friends participating in 19-day feast? Well, my answer was that almost all. Then he said, 19-day feast is not only the feast, it is not only celebration for the Baha'is. This is a real Baha'i parliament that everybody should go and express himself and help the local spiritual assembly and be informed about the all events that is happening in the Baha'i world, and be always in Quran. That was my first remembrance about the beloved guardian from my first visit.
That's great.
Around 1904, 1907, Abdu'l-Bahá built this part of the shrine of the Bab with the local stone and local workmen.
There was no super construction.
No. There was no outer construction. Yes. It was Shoghi Effendi, our beloved guardian, who in 1948 decided finally to put this beautiful outer structures with material, marble, granite that came from Italy. And the entire building was prefabricated. Look at these beautiful columns here. These very huge pillars you see here, they come from a quarry which is in the northern part of Italy. You know where Lake Maggiore is? Yes. There is a mountain which is made of this very beautiful granite, and it is called Rose Baveno. Rose because of the color. You've been there.
Yes.
Well, and rose because it is a pink color, yeah. But this is the most interesting point. See down here, there is this sequence of 9 terraces leading to Carmel Avenue. Now, the beloved guardian has written that the kings of the earth one day will come bare feet from the sea over these terraces and bring the crowns and put it at the threshold of the beloved Bab's tomb. And then there's something more important up there is the greatest name is a wonderful work of a sculpture made by a very fine artist. Yes. There are 2 bees opposite, like the hands, one opposite to the other, and there is also the greatest name in the middle, which means, O thou, the glory of the most glorious. Yes. And then I could tell you, I could stay here for about 2 days to describe every piece of a stone or marble which went into this building, you know, the great work which was done, and done to such a perfection of the guardian. I think the greatest joy in his life came from the construction of this beautiful shrine which fulfilled one of the wishes of Bahá'u'lláh and of course of the master Abdu'l-Bahá.
And the surroundings are wonderful.
Oh, the surrounding,
it is a deep meaning. The cypresses are standing around like in adoration.
Yes. Shoghi Effendi was a genius at planning gardens, and you know, he would do this. I was with him several months in different places. In a few hours or in maybe 3 or 4 days, he will plan the entire garden and have an army of gardeners put the things together, and beauty came just like by magic. Incredible, really incredible.
راه صلح فقط راهی است که حضرت بهاءالله در تعالیم خودشون معین فرمودند. ما یه جمعیت کوچک بایستی مقاومت داشته باشیم، بایستی پیش برویم به تعالیم حضرت بهاءالله که یگانه راه حل تمام مشکلات و اختلافات جنسی، نژادی، مذهبی و امثال اونها هست، همه را از بین ببریم و در این نقطه جمع شدیم برای همین که چیکار باید بکنیم. بیت العظم بایستی نقشه ها بکشن که این نقشه های آتیه را ما اجرا بکنیم در دنیا و بتوانیم واقعا امر الهی را در سراسر دنیا منتشر بکنیم و اشخاص منصف کوچکترین توجه اگر داشته باشند و با انصاف صحبت بکنند متوجه میشوند که راه چاره غیر از راه تعالیم حضرت بهاءالله نیست.
و در بین مسائل آینده امر چه مسائلی بیش از همه مورد توجه واقع خواهد شد؟
مسئله‌ای که فوق العاده مهمه برای جامعه بهایی این است که بهایی باشیم، یعنی به تعالیم الهی کاملا رعایت بکنیم، اجرا بکنیم تعالیم الهی را. وقتی ما نمونه شدیم، سرمشق شدیم برای جامعه بشر که ما این تعالیم در دست داریم، البته تأثیرش 100 برابر این است که حرف بگوییم و عمل کم باشد.
دوستان عزیز، امروز 9 عید سعید رضوانه و ما در اینجا جمع شدیم برای انتخاب سومین بیت اعظم. الان من وقت و غنیمت می‌شمارم در حضور جناب علایی به همه شما تحیات خالصانه خودم را ابلاغ می‌کنم. ملاحظه فرمودید اونچه که از بیانات جناب علایی مستفاد شد، ما وظایف خیلی خیلی بزرگ و سنگینی در آینده داریم و تمام وقت خودمون رو باید در این برنامه سوم تجهیز بکنیم برای هر چه بیشتر امر الهی رو در دنیا منتشر بکنیم. ما برای شما دعا می‌کنیم در آستان قدس الهی، رجا می‌کنیم که همه موفق باشید. شما هم در هر جا که هستید برای ما دعا بکنید. امیدواریم با این دعای متقابلی که ما در تمام دنیا می‌کنیم یک نیروی بزرگی برای ما از افق اعلی برسه و ما رو کمک بکنه که بقیه که نقشه‌های آینده رو با موفقیت انجام بدیم.
You know, this Rizwan is very significant because of the very many things that are taking place, of the election of the House of Justice, the revealing of the and printing of the Kitab-i Aqdas, the constitution of the Universal House of Justice, the 100th anniversary of the revealing of the Kitab-i Aqdas, also the 110th year of Baha'u'llah's departure from the gardens in Rizwan, and as well a significant proclamation period of all the communities in the world from April the 21st to May the 23rd.
May I first request Mr. Khadim to tell us something about the tablet of Carmel and his reminiscences of the days that he had been in the presence of the beloved guardian and what he said about the importance of this tablet.
Well, I like you speak first. Well, I think that as we sit in front of the throne of Baha'u'lláh in the mountain, in the garden of Rizwan, I recall the first pilgrimage, my first pilgrimage in 1925. It was almost at this time that the beloved Shoghi Effendi said it was green and beautiful like today, and the beloved guardian said, indeed, this is the paradise. حقيقة معنى الجنة في الظاهر والباطن. And then he said, look, what was here 2 months ago during winter? There was nothing. And now green and beautiful. Then the guardian said, as zahira inwanul batin, that means you tell me that
what happens in nature is the figure of humanity.
Yeah, and he said this is this is symbolic to the progress of the cause of God. The cause of God will progress, will grow so rapidly as these greens. There was nothing 2 months ago, and now look what has happened. And since you are asking me to speak, some of my memoirs about the tablet of Carmel, I remember that the beloved Shoghi Effendi very often spoke about the tablet of Carmel. Sometimes every day he spoke about it. And in fact, he sat in front of a frame in the tablet of Carmel, which was framed and still there, is there in the guest house, and spoke so highly about that tablet. He said, let the friends pray for the prophecies of that tablet to be fulfilled. And he said from memory, some parts of it. He bade me to memorize it and make a trip to Shiraz and Yazd and chant it for the Afghans, the relatives of the Bahá'ís. The beloved Shoghi Effendi said that the tent of Baha'u'lláh was pitched up on the top of the Mount Carmel, maybe the same place now that we have obelisk, and the priests of the cave of Elijah were all standing with great reverence. Baha'u'lláh called for pencil and paper and revealed the tablet in a loud voice. The beloved Shoghi Effendi said the melody of his voice, it impressed the priests very much, and he revealed that tablet. And then the guardian said the tablet remained incomplete. Baha'u'lláh did not complete it. How earnestly we wish that he was with us and we could hear him, that wonderful I would chant that 2 verses, the Queen of Carmel. Ya malakat Carmel, alayke min at-tahiyyat, atyabuha wa azkaha, wa min as-salawat, ajmaluha wa abhaha. Salutations from the beloved Shoghi Effendi to the Queen of Carmel, and now with all the glories and re-election of Universal House of Justice and the wonderful glories that we hear these days. I would like to ask Janab Faizi, since we are now in paradise, to tell us about the significance of this garden, and if he would give us a resume of the tablet of Baha'u'lláh revealed on this holy spot.
We are sitting in the Rizwan garden. This garden had been prepared by Abdu'l-Bahá for the rest and comfort of Baha'u'lláh, so that he would come here, take rest, and have a breath of fresh air here. As we are sitting, we are opposite to the place where Baha'u'lláh used to always sit. In the olden days, there were 2 rivers running on the 2 sides of this garden. And in some places where you see, Baha'u'lláh says, when we were in our verdant island, he means this island, because it's situated between 2 rivers. The rivers would meet at the end of the garden, and then by water mill, water was brought up for the irrigation of flowers and trees and everything. Of course, Baha'u'lláh did not live here for long. He used to come for rest or for banquets and go back to the mansion. Just to illustrate this point, we brought this tablet, which is hanging in that room at the end of the garden. And I would like to summarize it for you so that you will know what he felt when he came to the garden one day in the morning. He says, on a blessed Friday morning, we started from mansion coming to the garden of Rizwan. By the way, Abdu'l-Bahá called it Rizwan in memory of the Rizwan garden near Baghdad, which means paradise. Rizwan means paradise. Every tree, when we entered, he says, when we entered the garden, every tree uttered a word. Every leaf sang a song, the mention of God. The palm trees cried out and said, look at the relics of God, His mercy and His greatness. The two rivers we mentioned, the two rivers in an eloquent language uttered these words and said, from us, meaning water, all things are alive. Praise be God. These things were uttering words and manifesting secrets that everybody would be utterly astonished. And towards the end of the tablet, we come to certain sentences which indicate the great love and sympathy that Baha'u'lláh had towards his friends throughout the world. He says, please convey my love and greetings to all the friends. I request the Lord to bestow upon them so that they'll be confirmed to render services which will be worthy of being mentioned in the presence of God. And I remind everyone that this is not the exact translation of the tablet, I just summarized it.
I have the great honor of
La mano della Causa de Dios, Abdu'l-Bahá Ruye Khanum, inauguró cada una de las 7 casas de adoración Bahá'í actualmente en existencia. Esas incluyen aquellas en América, Europa, África, Australasia, Latinoamérica, el Pacífico y el subcontinente indiano. El hermoso templo de Flor de Loto, como se llama popularmente, está situado en las afueras de Nueva Delhi, en India. Desde su dedicación en 1986, ese edificio no solo ha ganado la admiración de miles de sus visitantes diarios, sino también ha recibido numerosas comendaciones de cuerpos profesionales a través de todo el mundo por su unicidad en diseño estructural y belleza. La dedicación de la Casa de Adoración de Samoa se llevó a cabo en la presencia de Su Majestad Malietoa Tunamafili II, el rey de Samoa Occidental. La visita de la mano de la Causa de Dios, el Dr. Jaqueri, al reino de Samoa Occidental, fue una experiencia muy conmovedora. El Dr. Jaqueri fue recibido por el rey de Samoa, Su Alteza, el Malietoa, y otros amigos bahá'ís. Fue una fuente de júbilo inmenso para muchos de los amigos al dar la bienvenida a la amada mano de la causa a su isla. El doctor Jaqueri había añorado tal visita por muchos años y había decidido cumplirla antes de su fallecimiento. Los amigos subsecuentemente fueron a la casa de adoración para reunirse con él y el Malietoa para oraciones. A pesar de su debilidad, él expresó su amor inmenso por ellos.
I would like to finish this reward, these few words, by remembering the beloved Master Abdu'l-Bahá and our most beloved guardian. Those are the two persons who inspired me to embrace the faith.
La celebración de sus 93 años de edad fue la última en su vida. Poco después, el doctor Jaqueri falleció en la isla de Samoa. Ningún otro grupo de discípulos de ninguna otra religión ha viajado tan lejos como las manos de la causa de Dios. Desde la incepción de su nombramiento, las manos de la causa han esparcido el mensaje de su líder a través de viajes a tierras distantes, muchas veces siendo arrestados, golpeados y encarcelados por sus creencias. Sin ser disuadidos, ellos llevaron a cabo su misión de paz, amor y hermandad. Gracias a Dios, en años más tarde, ellos viajaron con más confort y libertad para promulgar las enseñanzas de su fe. La unidad de Dios y la unidad de sus mensajeros. Se fueron a todos los rincones del mundo, tocando los corazones de la gente que conocían e inculcando amor por la humanidad, por las figuras centrales de la fe y en particular por su amado guardián. El tiempo nos permite mostrar solamente unos cuantos ejemplos. Entre los viajes legendarios son aquellos del Dr. Rahmatullah Mohajer, quien en 1954 se fue de pionero con su esposa, Irán Furután, a las Islas Mentawai de Indonesia, una colonia penal conocida por su malaria, tuberculosis y enfermedades de la piel. A pesar de las dificultades, él persistió y trajo las enseñanzas, junto con la asistencia médica, a muchas personas nativas. Él era responsable por la formación de numerosas asambleas espirituales locales y escuelas bahá'ís, y fue electo a la Asamblea Espiritual Regional de Asia del Suroeste en 1957. Alabado por el guardián por sus servicios, él fue nombrado mano de la causa ese mismo año.
Every pioneer who is going out of his community for pioneering, he's not only inspiring, and are useful for future posts that he's going, also he is a source of help and inspiration in his own community. The bounty of God will come to every community that he's sending a pioneer. We must know that. So one must encourage the pioneers to go, we must prepare for them to go, we must arrange for them to go, and be sure that where they're going, they have some effect on the receiving, and some great bounty of Baha'u'lláh are sending the pioneers. I hope that really you contact immediately to your institutions and committees and volunteer yourself and consult if you have some minor problems, and be sure that Baha'u'lláh is with you and will take your hand, and you will reach the goals, and you will do a greater service for the faith.
Sus hazañas únicas en el campo de la pionería continuaron sin parar durante 25 años más, hasta su fallecimiento repentino en 1979 en Ecuador, en donde hoy descansa. Agnes Alexander, la primera Bahá'í de Hawái, fue responsable por la apertura de la fe en la región del Pacífico en 1901. La exhortación de Abdu'l-Bahá para ella de visitar a Japón llegó en el verano del 1914, al comienzo de la Primera Guerra Mundial.
This message from Abdu'l-Bahá, that it was best that I should go directly to Japan and while there be engaged in spreading the fragrances of God.
Ella viajó extensivamente con otros maestros bahá'ís y algunos de ellos fueron honrados como manos de la causa después de su fallecimiento, tales como Martha Root y Keith Ransom Keeler. Preeminente entre los muchos viajes históricos de las manos de la causa fueron los recorridos épicos alrededor del mundo de Abdu'l-Bahá Ruhiyya Khanum. Ella viajó a 185 países, territorios independientes e islas mayores, conociendo a gente de todos los estratos de la sociedad, desde dignatarios y cabezas de Estado hasta personas sencillas de las varias aldeas.
I have come a very, very long way to see your faces again.
He venido desde muy, muy lejos para ver vuestras caras nuevamente.
And I cannot tell you how happy I am to be here. I appreciate very, very much what they said, but in coming to the village, we are remembering the words of Baha'u'lláh himself. He said that the city is the home of the body, but the country is the home of the soul.
Otro viaje histórico fue el de la mano de la causa Ali Akbar Furutan, quien fue criado en Ashgabat, en Rusia, y cuyo deseo más querido, después de una promesa que le hizo Shoghi Effendi, fue el de regresar a la anterior Unión Soviética.
در خطه ایران به خدمات امریه مشغول گردید. امیدوارم در مستقبل ایام در ممالک روسیه نیز به خدمات باهره جلیله مفتخر شوید. بنده آستانش شوقی.
Después del colapso del comunismo, él visitó a los bahá'ís en 8 ciudades en 4 repúblicas, creando un espíritu extraordinario de entusiasmo entre los amigos bahá'ís devotos, quienes habían estado aislados del mundo durante muchos años. La elevación de creyentes, al parecer comunes, a rango de mano de la causa de Dios, tuvo un efecto extraordinario en sus vidas. Asombro, incredulidad y sentimientos de desmerecimiento parecen haber sido las reacciones iniciales típicas.
Jalal, how did you feel when you were appointed a hand of the cause?
You see, I was traveling in Persia to visit all the centers as beloved guardian instructed me. To visit the isolated center, you should prefer the isolated center to the group centers, and the group centers to the local assembly centers. So I was traveling in the east of Persia, in the villages. For 20 days I was elevated to the rank of the hand of the cause, but I was the only one who didn't know anything about it. But the friends in Persia, they knew that I am a... So after 20 days, in one of these villages, one person came from the city of Mashhad and said, Mr. Khazef, we are searching you in the earth, you are in the skies, where are you? So I said, what's the matter? He said, I congratulate you, you became a hand. I said, don't say that. How can I be a hand of the cause? He said, believe me, you became a hand of the cause. And then that was 4 o'clock in the morning, so tears ran down from my eyes. And then I went and chanted the long obligatory prayer in that time. That was the prayer which never again I can read the same way that I did. So soon I came to Mashhad and I received the cable of Beloved Guardian, and then I wrote back such a bounty that beloved guardian has given to me. It is honor for me and for my descendants. But the future is in my hand. Whether follow your instructions and become near to the paradise of your nearness, or neglect and go to the hell of hardness, what you call it, such a thing. And then, please, this is a great heavy burden on my shoulder, and please help me that I could carry this burden and with the good endings of my life.
When we arrived in the room, our beloved guardian turned to my husband and said, "You know, I was very busy last few weeks, and I appointed some more hand of the cause, and you are one of them." When he mentioned you are one of them, I turned to my husband. I thought now he's transferring to something else. Really, I was shocked, happy, excited. I didn't know what to say. Then he gave us some instruction, and he turned to me and said, "Now you must go and help your husband and serve the faith." My husband was crying and begging him, "I am not worthy. Please give this bounty to my son-in-law, Ali." And guardian said, "No, this is your reward. His time will come."
When Janab Waliullah Varqa, trustee of Hukuk and hand of the court, passed away, cable came to National Assembly through Khadim, addressed to Secretary, I was Secretary of National Assembly, inform Dr. Varqa, he is trustee of Hukuk and hand of the court. Immediately I went to their house because it was the guardian's cable, I should give immediately. They had memorial meeting for Janab Waliullah Varqa, who passed away in Stuttgart in Germany, you know that. I said, "Janab Varqa, I have the cable from the guardian, I read. You are appointed trustee of Hukuk." The moment I said that, he stood up and said, no, I am not worthy, trustee of Hukuk. Went out from the room. And many people there were amazed, why he did. Then I read the rest of cable to others and hand of the course, but he didn't know that. He didn't hear that. Just trustee of Hukuk, he went out. Then he came to the room. Everybody greeted him, "Janab Varqa, your hand of the court." He said, no, I am just trustee of Hukuk. I said, "Janab Varqa, come and sit next to me. You should read the cable of the guardian." He said, "Trustee of Hukuk and hand of the cause of God, this is his cable. Accept that." You don't know what happened to him. He began to leave and cry, "This is the guardian." And I tell you, in the conclusion, I met Hazrat Abdu'l-Bahá. I met all 32 hands of the cause. I met them personally. Everybody thought that they are not worthy to be hand of the cause. I couldn't find even one to say, "Oh, all right, the guardian appointed me hand of the cause."
Well, I can remember when he told me that he's going to make me hand of the cause after my father passed away, and I didn't like it at all. Yes. And I wept and I wept and I wept and I begged and I begged and I begged, but it didn't do any good.
He did the same.
Well, that makes two of us.
She was so devoted to him. But in speaking about her, in a telegram to the Baha'is of Canada, he said, "She who is destined to be my helpmate, my shield from the darts of the covenant breakers, my indefatigable collaborator in my arduous labors." And that is what she was.
El señor Khadem, hablando en una escuela Bahá'í de verano en Irlanda en 1984.
The beloved Shoghi Effendi praised him, the best writer in the faith, George Townsend. I wish he were there. But he was the essence of love, enthusiasm, and humility. The moment I asked him to tell us something, he pressed my hands. And he said, you have come from the Holy Land. You must bring the fragrance of the Holy Land to us. And he didn't speak.
A raíz de los honores excepcionales otorgados por Shoghi Effendi, hoy este busto de George Townsend representa un símbolo de logro escolástico y la Asociación de Editoriales Bahá'ís lo otorga en su memoria a editores merecedores. El señor Roberts habla acerca de su compañero mano de la causa, el señor Banani.
Guardian expressed the fact that he was the father of Africa, and he was so greatly loved by so many people. And when I began to tell him the things that the Guardian had said about him, he was embarrassed. He didn't want me to go on. He wanted me to stop, but he just didn't feel he could take these beautiful things. But the Guardian loved him very much.
I remember that I wrote to him one time because whenever I want an answer to the question, that's why I said today you will meet really one of the learned in Baha, of whom the Blessed Beauty spoke. Whenever I want to know an answer to a question that's difficult, I write to Mr. Faizi, and he answers quickly. So I told him his name, that AQ is not really for Abul Qasim, that's for answers questions. And that the F for Faizi is also for fast, because he is a source of no ending help to me. I always know where to turn if I want an answer to a difficult question. And then I'm always asking him to read to me out of the books. When we were in the Holy Land, we were serving in the Holy Land, and we'd be at the mansion meeting at one of our great gatherings, I would get Mr. Faizi to stay up late, and we'd go outside by the light on the mansion looking out over toward the sea, toward Akka, and I'd ask him to read to me from the Persian books I couldn't understand. This time I wanted to hear from the Farahid by Mirza Abul Fazl. And he's reading to me, and we're laughing and having a wonderful time, and all of a sudden the door from the beloved Guardian's room where he used to stay in the mansion opened, and Abdu'l-Bahá, Ruhiyah Khanum, stuck her head out, and she said, "Will you two mujtahids go to bed so the rest of us can sleep?" So you know how close and tender I feel about Mr. Faizi. And during those days after the sign of God on earth, the beloved of our hearts, winged his flight to his everlasting nest, he was a great source of joy to all of us. His love for the beloved Guardian, for that precious pearl that hath gleamed from out the twin surging seas, that sacred bough that hath branched from out the twin holy trees, you will feel here this afternoon, I'm sure. I didn't know Mr. Faizi at all when Marguerite went on pilgrimage, but she came back and she said in her notes, she was reading them to me, and some of the friends at the table wanted to know, how should we teach the cause of God, beloved Guardian? And he said to look at Faizi, who was then in the Arabian Peninsula, Bahrain, no ability to talk to anyone in that hostile country, moving from place to place amongst the friends. And they had such tender love for him. He lived the life, of course. The distinguishing characters of the Baha'i community he exemplified in his personal life. So to paraphrase my friend Robert Quigley, it is an honor and a joy for me to be on the same continent with him, to be in the same hemisphere, to be in the same state, in the same city, and to be even in the same room with the tender and dear, loving fellow hand of the cause, Abul Qasim Faizi.
I would like to begin with what the beloved Master has said about Hand of the Cause. He said Hand of the Cause is not a title, is not a rank or position. It's not hereditary. Whoever serves the cause of God is a Hand of the Cause.
One evening he spoke of the
studying the teachings, deep study, and he said that no Baha'i today had time for much research outside of the teachings with their daily labors and their professions, but that they should go deeply, deeply into the teachings.
Of course, your pilgrimage in Haifa begins when you take the hand of the revered guardian in that wonderful, long, low dining room where he has dinner with the Western pilgrims, and you feel his love for us all. And it ends when your eyes rest for the last time on his beloved face. And then in between, he crowds so much upon you for the believers, the American believers, and the believers around the world, that your feeling of inadequacy reduces you to a fleck of dust.
Shoghi Effendi never spoke of himself. And one of the things that interested me very much is when he was talking about the cause and its development. He'd speak about the conditions in the days of the Bab. And he'd speak about the conditions and the activities of the faith in the days of Bahá'u'lláh. And he'd speak about the conditions and the activities of the faith in the days of Abdu'l-Bahá. And then he would speak about the faith in the days after Abdu'l-Bahá. He never said in the days of the guardian or in my period of administration, but he always referred to the days after Abdu'l-Bahá.
Of course, after the passing of the beloved guardian, nothing seemed too important, except to carry out the work of the faith and his wishes, and to drown our troubles, as he said, in an ocean of new believers. The remains of our beloved guardian are entombed there outside of London at Southgate Cemetery. Great-grandson of Baha'u'lláh, grandson of Abdu'l-Bahá, descendant of the Bab, of the twin figures of our faith and messengers of our faith, sign of God on earth. We don't even have a glimpse of his wonder yet. Here in this marvelous book, of course, there's very beautiful. But someday we'll really begin to learn who he is, that wonderful, wonderful guardian of ours. Behold, behold, he is the blessed and sacred bough that hath branched from out the twin sacred trees, the priceless pearl that hath gleamed from out the twin surging seas. That's where the title of this book, of course, came from, The Priceless Pearl. And he was far more than that. The last time I met him, we all remembered that when the time came and the guardian was about to leave, he would, with those graceful, beautiful hands, he would twist his serviette until finally, when he had made his point, he would pick it up firmly and set it in front of them, arise and go out that wondrous door. And there would be sometimes 5 minutes of utter silence because we still dwelled in the enchantment of his presence. And to ourselves inside, of course, thinking of me, and the others said they did the same, we never breathed a word, but inside, as we saw those hands move toward the serviette and turn it a little, you'd say inside, don't touch the serviette, don't touch the serviette, don't touch the serviette. And eventually, of course, he would, and then he would leave us. And then on the final day, the beloved guardian said, I hope you will return someday with some of your African children. Well, I did. But the beloved guardian was no longer with us. In 1963, at the first election of the Universal House of Justice, sole refuge of a tottering civilization, source of all good, freed from all error. What a wonderful occasion. And I was going in the entrance to the gate up the marble steps, and I bumped into one of my African children. We met there at the entrance to the Shrine of the Bab. I saw William. We came face to face. And the minute I saw him, I remembered those wonderful words of our beloved guardian. And I hugged him. And William said to me, "Today, Bill, my eyes are leaking love for the beloved guardian." And I told him, "William, mine too. And they always will. Please remember me in your prayers."
El tema más cercano a los corazones de las manos de la causa de Dios era la devoción y servidumbre en el camino de su Señor. En la edad heroica de la fe, durante las vidas de Bahá'u'lláh y Abdu'l-Bahá, esto quería decir, finalmente, el martirio. Como fue en el caso de Barha y su hijo Ruhollah. En la edad formativa que siguió, se pedían otras formas de sacrificio. Las manos de la causa, nombradas por el guardián, trabajaron día y noche para merecer el alto rango al cual habían sido promovidos. Aunque nunca pudieron emularle, ellos veían al guardián como su ejemplo. Él era la fuente de su inspiración y guía, y permanecía así hasta después de su ascensión al reino de Abha. Ellos recordaban sus palabras y hechos, atesoraban cada memoria de él, y recordaban a sus audiencias de la manera en que Abdu'l-Bahá se refería a él, como el signo de Dios en la tierra. En calidad de custodios principales de la fe, ellos vieron como su misión suprema, después del fallecimiento de Shoghi Effendi, la de dirigir y hacer llegar a buen fin el plan global espiritual de 10 años planeado por su amado líder, y así entregar las riendas del poder a la entonces electa primera Casa Universal de Justicia. El ejemplo que nos deja esta banda de héroes y heroínas de la fe de tiempos modernos permanecerá como una luz de guía brillante para las generaciones venideras. El legado que ellos dejan perdurará para siempre.